Yo, what's up, everyone? Give me 1 second here. Cool. Looks like we're live. So yeah, Saturday, I made a habit of doing a review of my week of all the things that I've learned, or a couple of things that I've learned, because I take in a good amount of information every week. So this week, I'll share about saunas. So I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts lately. This past week, mostly Dave Asprey podcast, Ben Greenfield podcasts. And I've noticed this one come up a bunch lately, and it's saunas. Yeah, no, I love saunas. You know, they're super comfortable and relaxing and all that stuff. You know, there's a bunch of different saunas out there. They all have like their different benefits. So my experience with saunas, it's changed over the years. But the one at my fitness facility, it's one of the old, you know, the traditional ones. You know, it's cedar. They got the hot rocks in there. Now I would normally go into that usually after my workouts. I would normally go into my steam room prior. I'd go to my steam room, do some stretching, get warmed up, go do my workout, and then after my workout, I would go do usually like a 15 or 20-minute sauna session. Unfortunately, my gym's closed now, and I really miss my sauna and steam room and all that good stuff. But now there's other types of sauna. Actually, I'll get into the types after. I just want to speak a little bit on the benefits. So after I listened to the podcasts, I just went online, just went through and just kind of summarized some of the benefits here. So, you know, the obvious one is, well, it's not obvious, but improve circulation. And this one's coming up for me a lot more lately, not just with saunas, but in general. And, you know, I've been doing, I think last week I shared about a circulation boosting device that I bought that sends electrical pulses through my feet, which helps to stimulate the blood flow and circulation. So tons of benefits about having, you know, just really good blood flow. So you just think of blood as your veins as like the highway of your body, and there's blood that needs to move around your body. And in the blood is oxygen. And just think of it moving energy through your body. So the more easier it can do that, the better off it is for you. So any practice that you can do that helps to stimulate blood flow is great. So before I bought that circulation device, some other things I did was, here's, I'm just outside. I don't know if you can see back there. I got a trampoline back there. You know, I used to have like a little mini rebounder. Other things, you just put my legs up against a wall and I'm laying on my back and my legs are up against the wall. That stimulates the blood to circulate down from your feet. So if you just think of gravity, you know, you're standing up or you're sitting down, and where does gravity push things down, right? So if you just think like, you know, the bloods and fluids are down, and it's good to kind of move them all around. Okay, so increase circulation. What else we got here? So obviously having improved circulation, it helps to minimize the chances of any cardiovascular disease, which is one of the biggest killers of everybody in the world right now. So anything you can do to help minimize that is obviously a good thing. Let me see if I can just check out the live here. I'm still getting used to this and seeing who joins and questions coming in and all that stuff. Okay, all right, 1 sec. What else we got? So reduce cardiovascular disease, helps with weight loss. So you sweat a lot. It just depends, you know, the type of sauna you're in and, you know, how long you're in there. But yeah, just think of, you know, what happens in there. You heat up, your body gets hot, you sweat, and it, you know, the calories and fluids. And usually I go in there with a big glass of water because I stay in there a good amount of time. And if you can combine things, like if you can go into your sauna after, which I would do my stretching after my workout, I drink lots of water, and then I would go close to the edge of the sauna and lay down on my back, obviously if there's not a lot of people in there, and have my legs up on the wall, allow the blood to circulate. Helps with your metabolism. And the other big thing is cleansing. So I just talked about how you sweat. We take in toxins all the time, heavy metals and just shit we breathe in. It's just not good for us, right? So sweating allows us to detoxify. And another one that was mentioned here was relieve stress. So again, like anything you can do to kind of just chill and relax and calm your body and your nervous system and your brain. It just helps to reduce stress. So I mentioned earlier, like there are a couple different types of saunas. I've started to get more into the infrared stuff over the last bunch of years. And I went to a Bulletproof conference years ago, and they had a bunch of saunas there. They talked about all the benefits and all that stuff there. Now, I remember there was this one thing, I think it was from a company called Sauna Space. It was basically this tent that you can go in, right? And inside there's a bamboo seat, and they had these light panels in there. I'm like, and on my list of things to do was to just build a homemade sauna, right? So as I saw that, I'm like, I'm going to build my own like sauna tent. So I haven't gotten around to doing it yet, but I have bought all the bulbs, right? So, I have probably like 10 of these bulbs in the basement, right? So look for ways, like being healthy can be expensive, but there's creative ways to make it cheaper, right? Like I can create my own little sauna tent and then just buy the bulbs on my own. Like I think I paid maybe $15 a bulb for these, and they last, this says 5,000 hours. So in the meantime, what I did prior to building the sauna, like I don't have it built yet. All I do is I've got this lamp, and I just got the bulb and I just put it on here. So caution, if you don't have any like protective screen or anything, you don't want to touch this when it's on. It's very hot. So ask me how I know, silly me. I was reaching down to plug something in and I heard, yeah. So not so good. So anyways, yeah. So different saunas. So the traditional one is high heat. You can't stay in there too long. You're going to sweat a lot. And then there's more of a dry sauna. So, a couple times a year, I used to go up to a place called the Scandinav Spa, one of my favorite places. So with all the closures lately, I haven't been able to go there, but it's one of my favorite places. And they have steam rooms, they have the dry sauna, they have the wet sauna, they have cold and hot tubs, they have relaxation rooms. Man, I want to go there. So probably 2 years ago, they added in these infrared saunas. So again, like it's lighting, not like the bulb that I showed, but they're just, some of you guys have probably been in them before. There's these long strips and they're basically infrared lights. So I'm still learning about this. So there's near red, there's medium range, near length, medium length, and far length infrared. So they all do different things. I think it's just the depth that they penetrate into the skin. So with traditional saunas, the wet ones that we talked about earlier, it heats up the air around you and it causes you to get hot, and then you start to sweat, right? So it's all kind of like surface stuff. Whereas these ones, they penetrate deeper into the skin, right? And it helps you sweat kind of from the inside out. So normally when I'm in my office, I have various things on me. So I'll usually have this light kind of pointed off to the side like this, and it just heats up, right? And, it penetrates the skin. It's not the same as a full-on sauna, but it's good in the interim. So what else have we got here for saunas? So lately I've been on Facebook Marketplace looking at saunas. It's not really in the budget right now, but when it comes time to, if I had to buy like a full-on sauna, I'd probably just start on Facebook Marketplace. I saw like a half decent 2-person used one on there that looked like it was in relatively good shape. And they were selling that for $1,100. Some other options that they mentioned in the podcast were sauna blankets. It's basically like a sleeping bag, and you hop in there and you sweat up a storm. So what is the company? I forget the company that sells those. There's a bunch out there, but they recommended like going with, some of the better ones out there. Okay, so that's saunas. So the next one that I wanted to talk about is, so that's it for sauna. Now I want to talk a little bit about meditation. So yesterday and today I was listening to a podcast from Dave Asprey. So if you guys don't know who he is, he's this biohacking dude. I've been following him for years. I listened to his Bulletproof Radio podcast, got a bunch of his books. He follows pretty much the ketogenic lifestyle. Really, really good stuff. So if you don't follow him, I highly recommend tuning into his podcast or reading his books or any of that stuff. So he had Emily Fletcher on from Ziva Meditation, and I've seen her speak a couple times at the Archangel Summit, and I've been following some of her stuff as well. And she was talking about meditation, not just for adults, but for kids too. And it's good because I have 2 kids and I want them to obviously live with optimal health as well. So I've been doing meditation just kind of on and off over the bunch of years, and guided meditation. I've used like sounds. I've done walking meditation, and I've just meditated in silence as well, and I found it helpful. And this podcast interview was a reminder for me to get back into that stuff, and also to dig a little deeper into stuff for kids. I started it with them years ago, but it was one of those things that kind of dropped off. And it's not always an easy thing, and they talk about this on the podcast, like how do you get a kid interested in meditating when there's all these distractions around? They would rather be playing video games with their friends, Minecraft, whatever the heck, and they got their Instagram, they got their social media, like all these things vying for attention, right? So how do you convince your kid to want to do something like this? So she developed a program designed for kids ages 4 to 14. So there's different programs for there's 2 different ranges. I think it's 4 to 8 she has a program for. So she uses like different cartoon characters and uses different language for kids of that age. And then she has a separate program for kids that are between 9 and 14, which my daughters are. So I'm going to have a closer look at that, but the benefits are just insane when it comes to meditation. So for anyone that has thought about trying it or has done it before, who has stopped, like, it just some of the stuff, helps relieve stress, anxiety. We need some of that stuff a lot more now, especially with all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. The lack of social connection and, just the social media stuff that you see out there, the impact that has on our health, and especially for kids, right? And another huge benefit is it helps with your sleep, right? So I forget the exact amount, but there was something that stated that for every 20 minutes of meditation, it equals like an hour of sleep or some multiple of it, which makes it extra beneficial. So now I remember what they shared in the podcast. Well, how do you convince these kids to do it, right? So you have to spin it. You always have to think it's not just for this, but for anything, like what's in it for me, right? So if you can come up with added benefits of doing that, having them do this, and like show them that you can see it through this program, like, maybe you'll perform better at soccer, or you'll be able to stay more focused and get better grades in school, or your brain will operate better, so you'll be better at video games, right? Or whatever it is, right? So, and they also said it's not easy coming from the parent, right? So me going up to my kids and recommending this to them isn't as effective as maybe another adult or another friend suggesting something. So yeah, so I'm gonna tap into this Ziva Kids. I'm gonna look into it a little bit more. And yeah, there's some there. I know that they shared like a discount code on the podcast, so I'm gonna have that. I'll look that up, and I'll share all these things in the show notes. And not just coming from other adults recommending for the kids to do it, but maybe sharing with them, this influencer does meditation, which allows them to do this better, or athletes or actors and actresses, people that they already follow, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. What else we got here? Yesterday, I finished listening to another podcast. This is another Dave Asprey one. So he was interviewing Dr. Joseph Mercola. And yeah, there was some interesting stuff on there. So, they were talking about like censorship and how they put out information, and there's filters that get set up, and some of their stuff doesn't get viewed because of some of the content that they share in there, right? So maybe YouTube doesn't show certain things, or Facebook or other social media platforms, or even Google, in the past, where you would do a Google search on something and it would show a lot of the results. Well, they were mentioning that things are being filtered more and censored more based on the content, and their stuff is not getting shown up as much anymore, which is it's interesting to think about, because we're taking in all of these things and we're basing our decisions on the information that we're given. But if we're only given one side of the story, we just think that that's right, and we don't have anything else to compare it against. So very interesting times that we're in right now. So this is something to consider. And they also shared just some other ideas around like treatments for COVID and things like that. They talk about, getting ample levels of vitamin C, vitamin D. So, I go over the top with the vitamin D now. Now that it's starting to warm up more in Canada, I'm getting outside more, trying to get more sun, just trying to get as much exposure to sun as you can. So, go out in the short sleeves, or, if the weather's suitable and you're comfortable with your shirt off, or you just go in your backyard, you want to try to get, good amount of sun exposure, but not too much. So 1 second. So I take these vitamin D drops. So I usually do these drops in the morning. I put, a bunch of drops under my tongue. And then I take these vitamin D3 and K2. So I've heard that combining those two helps to get more bang for your buck. So another thing that they talked about that I've heard for a bit, but I didn't even know what the heck it was. And it's a cool word. It sounds like something off of Star Trek, a nebulizer. So apparently this is a device, and I started to look it up after the podcast. It's basically something that converts like liquid medicine into a mist, and you get to inhale it. So there's a reservoir in there where you put water, and then you can put like drops of some solution, whatever it is you're trying to treat, in there, and then you inhale it. You could either inhale it through your mouth or through your nose. So they said that this is good for viral infections as well as respiratory viruses. So obviously this, the COVID virus, this is a very good treatment for it, they said. And what did they say? Hydrogen peroxide um, is very good in a nebulizer. So I've started to look it up. I've started to look up, the ones that they recommend. So he recommended one called he likes the ones that plug in because he said the other ones don't really give off enough power. So the one he likes is called a Trek S compressor. So I looked that up. I think it's in the range of 80 to 100-ish dollars. So that's the biggest part of the investment for this. After you get that thing, you're good, because the hydrogen peroxide, he says to get a food grade one and store it in the fridge. And apparently that doesn't cost very much money at all. And he says when you're buying the device, to buy the mask with it, because the one that comes with it is just for your mouth. He says buy the mask. I think he says it's like $20 that goes over your nose, because you want to inhale it through your nose. He says to use pure clean water. Can use distilled water. He says just don't use tap water. You don't want to put that. You just want like clean things that you're using. What else we got here? So yeah, like that's completely new to me. I mean, I've heard it mentioned before, but I didn't really know what a nebulizer was. I had no idea on cost, but he's not the first person that has mentioned using a nebulizer and hydrogen peroxide. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I can link to the podcast that I listen to. Otherwise, you can just Google nebulized peroxide, Dr. Joseph Mercola. So you might notice some of his posts have been taken down, but I was able to still find some that were up. So he does a video on how to use the nebulized peroxide, which is very helpful as well. So yeah, that's it for this week. I just like getting in the habit of summarizing all the things that I've learned in the week. It's helpful for me just to help to retain the information that I've brought in, and hopefully you guys get some benefit of this stuff as well. So yeah, I like being the guinea pig. I like just following along people who are getting like friggin' amazing results on the health and wellness and mental side of things. And I just take some of the things that I learned from them, I apply them in my life, and usually it works out pretty good. So I do more of it, and then I just kind of add in as I go. So hope this was helpful for you. If you've gotten value from it, give it a share. Thanks. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.